Nikke? Really? Et tu, Nikke? Why have you forsaken me? Welcome back to OtakuDaiKun. Dai here. Today we've got another bout of censorship to discuss. It infuriates me that I even have to spend time on topics like this, but it continues to be an important issue within the anime fandom. Sometimes, censorship is done by people who find content morally reprehensible. They don't want anyone enjoying something they disagree with. This kind of censorship is definitely the worst, as the only real solution is to keep defending the legitimacy of what we're passionate about. Most of the time, however, censorship is a matter of curation. It's not that anyone thinks you, a responsible adult, can't enjoy a piece of fiction, but rather they want to make sure that other people aren't exposed to mature content. For instance, you may not want children to get their hands on adult material. That, or people have traumas that you don't want to mistakenly trigger. In these cases, I feel like censorship can be done in a way that benefits everyone, but far too often it's just poorly executed. Let's take the whole Pixiv debacle as an example. Recently, credit card companies, specifically the American MasterCard, have put pressure on Pixiv's English branch to crack down on morally questionable content. As a result, Pixiv put out a statement declaring that certain types of art will no longer be eligible for monetization on the platform. At first, they specifically listed loli, shota, incest, bestiality, and anything non-consensual. Since then, it seems their official statement has eased up a bit, but it still sucks because Pixiv was originally a place full of genuine creative freedom, and no amount of them saying they care about their creators can offset what they're actually doing. You don't get to censor shit and then say you care about creative liberty. We saw this coming from a while back when Pixiv made a pledge to make their site more diverse and inclusive for a global market. For those of us used to this rhetoric, diversity and inclusion are huge red flags when it comes to censorship. They're buzzwords that sound nice. By nature, they make anyone who opposes them seem like some kind of insensitive, racist prick. There's a problem with these terms, however, and it has to do with the fact that when they say diversity and inclusion, what they're actually preaching is anything but. They have a very sick, twisted way of interpreting inclusivity that is ironically very exclusive. Basically, their idea of inclusivity is taking their product or service and watering it down to the lowest common denominator so that nobody is offended. This may result in having more people access the entirety of their content, but it also comes at the expense of the content itself. We can see this in effect with Pokémon Scarlet and Violet. In order to make the game appeal to a gender-neutral audience, Nintendo made it so that your protagonist can never wear a skirt or other feminine clothing. Rather than offering a wide variety of outfits to choose from, they decided to make every outfit compatible for male and female bodies, and they did this by basically just making everyone wear boys' clothes, with feminine options suppressed. Imagine trying to order a pizza for you and your friends. Some of them might want olives, while others want pineapple. Inversely, the people who want olives can't stand pineapple, and vice versa. A small few of them are even allergic to pineapple. The way these companies approach the problem is by ordering everyone cheese. That way, nobody has to eat something that bothers them. This might technically include everyone, but it certainly doesn't include their individual preferences, and it results in limiting the diversity of options. I call this type of inclusion faux, or false inclusion. Don't get me wrong, learning to compromise is a valuable skill, especially when you have to make do with less. However, in these cases, it's often very possible to achieve what I call true inclusion, where everyone gets exactly what they want without having to compromise. In this pizza example, you could go half olives and half pineapple, or you could order 3 smaller pizzas instead of just 1, giving people the choice of what they want to eat. As far as I'm concerned, Pixiv already had this type of ideal inclusion by merit of categorizing all posts by detailed keywords. If you want to access adult content, you have to opt into it by your own discretion. If there are certain posts that trigger you, you can always omit them when performing a search. Now, artists are worrying that said content won't be available at all, just so that Pixiv can cozy up to the credit card companies. I find it sickening that they don't even mention MasterCard in their statement, when we all know they're the true villain here. Regardless, my point still stands. Ideal inclusion is achieved by offering enough options so that everyone can have exactly what they want without forcing those preferences on others. The proper solution to censorship, then, is being as open and honest as possible about what a given work of fiction contains. That way, people can judge for themselves what they want to see or avoid. The one thing preventing this solution from being implemented, however, is curation. Far too often, creators are punished for creating mature content, which forces them to alter their art for the sake of exposure. As you may know, Nikke Goddess of Victory is a new mobile game that features third-person, arcade-style shooting, with a camera angle positioned to capitalize on the large, bouncy buttocks of its many waifu. I absolutely love this game, and it pains me to see that, despite declaring not to censor the game in any way, data miners have proven the devs are filthy little liars. Technically, nothing released in the game has been altered after the fact, but game leaks are giving us a glimpse at what was originally going to be released before it got edited at the last second. This includes changing skirts into shorts, altering open-legged poses, and covering up cleavage. While I totally blame the developers for making these changes, I'll admit that they're facing an unfair pressure to keep things tame. Specifically, the Nikke devs are desperately trying to make sure that the game maintains a 12+ age rating on iOS and Android. I'm actually really impressed with how much they've been able to get away with and still squeeze into that rating. It seems totally counterintuitive to make a sexy waifu game that's also family-friendly, but there is one huge motivation for them to do so. Turns out, apps rated any higher than 12+ get suppressed in the algorithm and are unable to feature on store homepages. The devs could totally keep their uncensored version, but it would come at the cost of not being noticed. Personally, I don't think Nikke's devs should be too worried about that. I've never once gone to an app store and just browsed it for recommendations. I only go there when I have something very specific to search. I suspect that Nikke is popular enough with its advertising and word of mouth that they don't need the digital storefront recommending it to normies. Without access to their analytics, though, I can't say for sure. The bigger issue is obviously that app stores have such a stingy limitation in the first place. Right off the bat, I can think of a number of solutions that would allow mature content to thrive. By far the easiest solution would be to recommend mature content anyway. It's not like promotional thumbnails and trailers have to be inappropriate. Just show Nikke on the homepage anyway, and if people want to play it, warn them about the mature content when they actually go to download it. A more complicated yet equally valid option would be to give users the ability to choose whether they want mature content recommended to them or not. Require a birthday to browse the store, or perhaps inherit that info from the device's account settings. Either of these would be more fair than simply shadow banning any and all mature apps. It also has the added benefit of encouraging app developers to be more honest with what they create. Nikke wouldn't have to feel the pressure of making things as lewd as humanly possible within strict guidelines. They could just make the game they want and be as honest as possible about it without penalty. Turns out, this very same dilemma affects YouTube. Thanks to PewDiePie saying the N-word and starting the ad-pocalypse, YouTube has been brutal about scrutinizing content to see if it's safe for advertising or not. Things have settled down a bit since then, and YouTube now has better guidelines on what you can and can't put into videos. Creators have the option of declaring the nature of their content ahead of time. To this day, though, the one thing that upsets me the most is that YouTube doesn't put in enough work to find advertisers willing to feature on mature content. I know there are companies out there who wouldn't mind featuring on raunchy stuff. Hell, I sometimes see advertisements that have more mature content than we're allowed to make. I'm sure that Nikke wouldn't have an issue advertising their game on, say, my Kill a Kill video, but when YouTube says limited to no ads, they basically mean no ads whatsoever. Another huge downside of getting demonetized is algorithm suppression. If YouTube can't advertise it, they don't want to recommend it. Age restricting is even worse. Ideally, I'd age restrict every video I make, if only it had the same opportunities as a normal video. It would let me be honest and open about my content while still getting all the same exposure, at least from viewers who enable mature content on their accounts. It just sucks that none of these companies want to offer a feasible platform for mature content, which just leads to a rat race where creators try to get away with as much as they can without losing monetization. One important thing to consider is that there's a major difference between having mature content and straight-up porn. There are obviously adult platforms that exist for pornographic material, and a lot of money can be made in that market, but a great deal of anime stuff falls just outside of that classification. There's a middle ground, a dead zone if you will, between kid-friendly stuff and porn that often gets the short end of the stick. To reiterate, I think most censorship could be avoided by providing users the option of whether to see mature content or not. Rather than forcing everyone to consume censored goods, simply create enough options so that everyone can have what they want. The key to making this work is ensuring that those mature alternatives aren't hidden or penalized simply for existing. Put more focus on properly tagging content and giving users the ability to navigate those tags. I personally believe this will actually result in fewer people getting triggered or accidentally watching something meant for an older audience. Honesty is the best policy, but when people are punished for being honest, they tend to ask for forgiveness rather than permission. Despite what I've found out about Nikke, I'm not going to boycott the game at this point, but I will remain critical of it as we go forward. What do you guys think platforms should do to be genuinely inclusive? I look forward to reading your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching!
If you enjoy this channel, help us grow by liking, commenting, sharing the video, subscribing to OtakuDaiKun, and
most of all, smashing that notification bell so you don't miss out on all of our anime discussion, lore, or Let's Play content.
You can support us directly through Patreon, Subscribestar, or our YouTube membership, all of which come with benefits like exclusive vids and early access.
As always,
celebrate your fandom!
I want to give a special shout out to all my $10 and up supporters. VideoGamer75, Stephen Elak, Samuel Gersten, The Nonchalant Ostrich, Otaku Mom, Jens Bauman, Mystic Samurai 1983, Lord Omaguden, Freebrick, RNG Shuffles 1498, Alexis Yukio Gomez Yamato, Link Pendrago, Observer Bellis, Flash Daniel, Hilden Yarbrough, Horseman of Justices, James Hewitt, Uncanny EXP, Matthew McAfee, Game King 352, Caitlin P., Vladimir Rovna, Succubus Sakura, Normace, Jonathan Padua, The Taz 96, President Irna Vladimirovna Putina, Maxwell's Demon, and SF Giants fan Mike. Thank you all so much!